Dear relationship cynics and relationship romantics, my name is Monice, and you are listening to the Romantic Cynic podcast. I think that all of us women, at some point or another, have come across the self proclaimed nice guy. This is a topic that has actually come across trending on my social media feeds, and so I wanted to talk about that with you today. Of course, I have an example, and what better example than to have is my ex husband. Yes, he was a self proclaimed nice guy. So I hope you join me on today's episode where we might mix in some laughter, maybe some tears, romance, and of course, some cynicism. Welcome to episode 22. What is the self proclaimed nice guy? Well, it is a guy. I won't say man, or maybe we can say grown male. It's a guy that tells a girl that he is a nice guy, and sometimes they will list all the reasons why the girl that he's interested in or quote unquote just friends with is a good person to date. So trying to convince this girl that she should date him. Anyone who self proclaims anything of the sort, doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, boy, or girl, guy, or gal, if you have to self proclaim that to the opposite sex or to someone you are interested in that you are a nice person or a nice guy or a nice girl, I have come across many types of people like this, and I've realized that these self proclaimed people are not usually nice. They have to convince people, they have to almost manipulate other people to make them believe that they are a nice person. Being a nice person, you are just the way you are. You don't have to convince people. You do it in your actions, you do it the way you treat other people. That's how you tell me that you are a nice person. So we'll go back to this self-proclaimed nice guy. I always have, the best example that I can give you is my ex-husband. It was the longest relationship I had. It was 14 years. I was with him, you know, from my early 20s up until my age now. I'm not going to tell you what my age is right now or probably ever, but yeah, so that is my example of, the self-proclaimed nice guy is my ex-husband. And so there were times with him that I can say in our relationship, he would always tell me like, I'm such a nice guy. I treat you so well. If I think the best example that I can give you was, we got in fights and arguments over the years, and I am not a bad person in the relationship. I did cause some turmoil just because I was so frustrated, I was so frustrated with where I was at in this relationship because I felt like as if it was in a standstill. It wasn't going anywhere. He couldn't commit. There was so many red flags, and me had to be accountable. I just chose to ignore them because I thought that this is the person that I potentially could spend the rest of my life with. you know, to just give you a little bit of my mindset, at the time I started dating my now ex-husband, I just really wanted to be in a relationship and I wanted to make it work no matter what type of relationship it was, unfortunately for me. And I convinced myself many times, and he convinced me many times that this was the healthiest relationship I would ever be in. This would be the only type of relationship I would be in. And the times that we got into fights, he he would tell me again that he's such a nice guy, but if I was with anyone else in any other relationship, no man would hesitate to hit me. I'm gonna let that sink in for a little bit. Yes, he would tell me on occasion that He was such a nice guy, and I was lucky enough to be in a relationship with him because in any other relationship, a guy and man would have hit me. It wasn't a threat to my person, but just the fact that he had to say repeatedly that he was a nice guy and tell me that I was so lucky to be with him because he treats me so wonderfully. And if it was in any other relationship, I would be abused, physically abused by other men. That was the type of reality I lived in. It wasn't like a normal circumstance every day, but it was, he would say that, I would say at least maybe once every couple years or so, just because some of our arguments were just so loud and mean spirited to one another. We would say things to be hurtful and to be spiteful. I wasn't the best version of myself in that relationship, and I can admit that. But he would always claim he was such a nice guy. And really self-reflecting now, it's like he wasn't a nice guy. I'm not trying to shit all over my ex-husband because there were certain things about him that were genuinely nice. However, when it came to his treatment towards me, he wasn't nice. Now, with some of the commonalities of a self-proclaimed nice guy are, one, they consistently tell you that they're a nice guy. Two, everything is transactional with them. So if they do something for you, say they help you move one day, he's going to expect something given in return, either it be a date or sleeping with him. That's what it usually comes down to. The transactional piece is, I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to do something nice for you, so you therefore do something nice for me. And that's how my ex-husband was. My ex-husband wanted two things from me, and that was it. I will allow you to guess what those two things are. One was feed him, and the other one started with an F word that I cannot say on this episode because I try to be a lady and I try not to cuss, especially around my parents. My parents have a very my dad has always kind of been vocal. I know I'm going off the subject a little bit, but my dad has always been this vocal person about saying, he appreciates that I do not cuss. So out of respect for my dad, I try not to cuss. So I don't want to cuss on this episode. But back to this transactional piece. The ex-husband wanted two things: to feed him, and the other one was to, again, starts with an F word. You can think of exactly what that word is. And that was all he wanted from me. He didn't want a partnership. He didn't want companionship. He didn't want to build a friendship. Again, he just wanted two things because this is all transactional. Another thing about, the self-proclaimed nice guy is that they truly believe that they are nice guys. They really do. And it's this, I don't know where this mindset comes from, but they believe that they are truly nice guys when in fact they are not. If you all of a sudden, put them in the friend zone because, again, you are just not physically attracted to them, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you form some type of friendship with them. Again, now we're just talking about the self-proclaimed nice guys, because I have had guy friends throughout the years where we were truly just friends. That was all. That was what our relationship was. We were just friends. And I remember having quite a few guy friends that majority of them, I did have a majority of them never had to tell me that they were nice guys to me, because they knew that that the friendship piece is what all I wanted. And so being able to see the differences of truly nice guys, like authentically nice guys, versus the self-proclaimed nice guys I was able to see the difference. And unfortunately with my ex-husband, I chose to ignore so many red flags about him, the self-proclaimed nice guy will try to control you. And my ex-husband, that's all he wanted to do. He wanted to control every single thing about my life. He wanted to control, he wanted to control my money spent. He wanted to control what I wore. He wanted to control, not necessarily career-wise, but he wanted to stifle my career. I remember having conversations with him that saying, this is the path I want to go on, and in order for me to get where I want to get in my career, I will have to work in a bigger city. And where we live, I'm not too far from a metropolitan city, not too far from one, but I remember him telling me that his quote was, over my dead body that'll allow my wife to work in the city, in a big city. And he stopped again. There's a lot of things he tried to control about my life, and the self-proclaimed nice guys will do the same thing. Another big red flag about the self-proclaimed nice guys are, and I've experienced this in my marriage. They believe that, and I'm not saying all self-proclaimed nice guys are exactly the same way, but these are just what I've experienced in my own relationship. They believe that their needs, if you satisfy all their needs, therefore all of your needs and wants and desires are satisfied as well. So they're very like this egocentric. They think that it is an honor for you to satisfy every one of their whims and every one of their needs. And they truly believe, and my ex-husband was this way, they truly believe that is what your happiness is solely based on. You are just an object in their world to control. You are an object to do with what they wish to do to you when they please, no questions asked. And I don't want to say I wasn't allowed to ask questions, but sometimes it was at a point where I should not question him. I should just do what he tells me to do. So again, that really controlling piece with, some of these self-proclaimed nice guys, if they are truly your friends. So really pay attention to some of these red flags that they will continuously do. They may get, say you are in this, friend zone type of relationship with this self-proclaimed nice guy, and and you are you are physically interested or physically attracted or just attracted to another male that is not the self-proclaimed nice guy. He will do a lot of trash talking about that person just so you are turned off by them, because they are going to think that they're going to try to convince you that they are looking out for the best interest of you. I experienced this in my own relationship with my ex-husband, where early on, I had told him that I have a lot of guy friends. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends at the time, just because I didn't get along with females my own age. I didn't, just because, when you're in your early 20s, some of these girls can be a little bit catty. So I was just kind of turned off to really bonding with girls like that, or just girls in my age range in general. So I had a lot of guy friends, but I remember the ex-husband, just talking a lot of trash about these guys that I had known for a really long time. And it wasn't like I knew them for a couple months. These are guys that I hung out with. Like, these are some of these guys I grew up with, but just like trying to convince me that all they wanted to do was sleep with me, when in fact I knew that wasn't the case. Maybe some, yes, I didn't know. They didn't try to pursue me in that way, but him continuously talking trash about these guys, that these guys that I made friendships with and bonds with over the years, he just said that all they wanted is one thing. So I got to a point where, not that I believed what he said about my guy friends, but it just got to a point where I had to choose, unfortunately, between my guy friends and my relationship with him. And And I ended up choosing him, one, because I felt like it was important to show some type of commitment to him. So I chose to cut ties with a lot of these guys that I had known for a long time. And when I had those conversations with my guy friends, they understood. They didn't agree, but they understood, because again, it was my choice, it was my relationship, and they respected my decision because of that. Another big thing that they'll do is, self-proclaimed nice guys will judge you. And my ex-husband judged me a lot. I mean, it could have been, he judged me from, most of the time, most of the judging came from my physical appearance. A lot of judging came from my physical appearance, which as a girl, we were already pretty insecure about our bodies typically. And I know at the time I was pretty confident with who I was physically. And so I didn't, there were, yes, I feel like there's some faults that I have in my physical body. But there was a lot of things that I was like, I liked about myself. I liked about my body. And so when I had my ex-husband ridiculing me and making fun of me about certain aspects, things that I didn't think were necessarily a problem, he made them a problem. So there's a lot of judgment, and he would compare my body to, girls, his previous girlfriends. He would compare my body to he would compare my body to porn stars. He would compare my body with what I was lacking versus what did I have. And it really brought down my self-esteem. So there's a lot of judgment on his part. There was judgment about my family. There's judgment about my parents and my brother. And he would just make these criticism all the time because he felt so superior to who he was. Again, the self-proclaimed nice guy. You know, they 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 choose you because they're physically attracted to you, but they also choose to try to manipulate you and try to convince you. That was the big thing. Like, the self-proclaimed nice guy will try to convince you to date them. And I'm here telling you, like, that is just a huge, big red flag. And we should be a little bit, as women, as females, we should really be more cognizant of guys that are like this. I can't even call them men because they're not men. They're grown males. They're guys that think it's okay and acceptable to treat women this way just because they feel entitled to getting the girl that they're attracted to. And I feel like sometimes these self-proclaimed nice guys will be attracted to women that might be outside of their league. And then they'll do everything they can to make that female feel as if they match their level, the self-proclaimed nice guy's level. If you've ever had an experience with this, I hope that you were able to get out of it safely. I hope that you were able to realize and were awakened at the idea and the fact that you are such a good person, and you deserve so much more than someone that treats you that way. And if you've been in relationships with the self-proclaimed nice guys, I feel for you. I've been there, and I lived with that type of person. I lived with that type of person for a really long time. And I was so fortunate enough to get out when I could. Not that I felt like anything, like, not that I felt that there was fear in that relationship, but just how unhealthy it was to be in that relationship day in, day out. And I had to get to a point where I had to really step up and figure out what I wanted and what would make me ultimately happy. And this is not from a selfish point of view. This is from I need to be able to live my own life and be able to find happiness. That's what it all comes down to, if you've been in the relationship or you have, a friend that a guy friend that is the self-proclaimed nice guy, it's better to get out of that type of situation, because you will not be happy at the end of the day. You will not find real happiness, and you might be missing out on the relationship that you are meant for. So, with this whole topic of the self-proclaimed nice guy, you know, big red flag, and do what's best for you, and get out of the situation, and or break that friendship up, because it's just not worth it at the end of the day. You are, as a woman, as a female, you are so much more worthy than to be in that type of relationship or that type of friendship. So I hope you took some insight on this episode today. If you are in a relationship, a healthy relationship, hold your partner close and tell them how much you love them and how much you appreciate them. If you are single, that's okay. Continue to work on being the best version of you. Thank you for listening, and as always, yours truly, the Romantic Cynic.